My name's Annabelle and I am the Challenge Programme Coordinator here at Fuel Change, managing and overseeing all of the work that we do within education, and particularly so the Fuel Change Challenge, which is credit and level the SCQF Level 6, which we're going to be focusing on today. There's so many people here, which is really exciting. So I wondered if you could actually just take a wee moment to maybe put the school or organisation that you're representing just in the chat box, and then we'll be able to see, you know, where everybody's from and what kind of geographical spread and things that we've got. That would be absolutely fabulous. If we can change slides here, 1 wee sec. There we go. Yeah, so today I'm just going to be covering a little bit around who are we at Fuel Change, what do we do, how did we get here, go into a wee bit depth around the Fuel Change Challenge SCQF Level 6 curriculum opportunity, then dig a little bit deeper into the details and delivery. How would you deliver this in a school? We're then going to be hearing from, I'm very delighted to say, Michelle McMullan, who is at St Mungo's High School over here in Falkirk, who's going to be sharing her experience. She's been leading up the delivery of this in St Mungo's over the academic session 22-23, and is going to be offering this as well in the academic session 23-24. And then at the end, we'll just have a bit of an informal discussion and question. If anybody's got anything they would like to ask or anything they would like to raise, then please do feel free to bring it up at that opportunity. So a bit of an introduction into who are we at Fuel Change, what are we doing and why are we here? So essentially everything we do at Fuel Change is based on our vision. And that is that future generations have that opportunity to live in a sustainable, but also an economically prosperous world. I think sometimes a lot of people hear the word sustainability and think it's a bit doom and gloom, actually. They hear things like, does that mean I need to stop going on holiday? I need to stop eating red meat and I can't own a car. It can sound a little bit bleak and people might think, God, that sounds a bit raw and I just want to live the best life I can while I can. So what we do at Fuel Change is try to actually promote the fact that if we are to live in this sustainable world, that goals to do with net zero are going to force us to change to. There also comes a lot of opportunity with that. So don't be afraid of it. Don't stick your head in the sand. Don't get anxious about it. And let's look at some of the positives and some of the opportunities that can come through there. But something we really focus on at Fuel Change is true engagement of the next generation. Now, Fuel Change was established in 2020, so we were a bit of a lockdown baby. And to be honest, at that time, as maybe mainstream media would make you believe as well, is that all young people were on it when it came to climate change. They were all fired up and they were all doing stuff, but they just lacked a platform in which to get involved. So when we were initially established, we thought, well, why don't we provide that platform? And we initially worked with apprentices and graduates who were already in the workplace because we thought at that time that they were a bit of an untapped resource in terms of getting them involved with creating some of the solutions that will help us see a net zero future. And what we very quickly learned with working with that age range and cohort who were already in the workplace, they were apprentices and graduates in that sort of 16 to 25 age range, was that the vast majority were actually not engaged in climate change. Well, there is certainly a portion of young people who are really active, they're getting involved in school groups, they're out doing stuff. There's also a huge portion of society and young people that go, nah, climate change, it's not for me. My boss will deal with it, the government will deal with it. I'm just going to live the best life I can while I can. So in order for us to really positively transition to that net zero future that we're looking towards, we really work a lot on how do we truly engage that next generation. And the way that we do that is through our unique challenge programme, which you guys are here to listen to today. So at a bit of a high level, the Fuel Change Challenge is where we take real life sustainability challenges set by real life organisations. So this year we're working with the likes of Visit Scotland on what could sustainable travel and tourism in Scotland look like. We're working with the likes of ACOM, who are asking, you know, what are the future of our towns and cities going to look like? And we take these challenges and we put them to teams of 4 to 6 individuals from the next generation, where they go through our process and they come up with a solution which they then present that back to a panel of real life industry judges. And the reason that these businesses work with us is because they want to hear what young people think, and they don't have the answers to those challenges, which is why they come to us so we can relay those back to the next generation and really get them involved in creating the future that they are ultimately going to live in and be the leaders in. So to give you a bit of background, we've worked with around 150 organisations to date, some of which you can see on the screen here, and around 1,500 young people. And like I said, when we initially set up, we were working with that apprentice and graduate cohort who were in the workplace already. But as I said, when we learned that a lot of them weren't as engaged as we initially anticipated, we thought, how can we take that a step back and target those young people so that by the time they get into the workplace, they don't need to be convinced that sustainability is an important thing and the skills in order to implement that in their workplace is important. So we started working with schools, and we didn't think this would happen, but there was actually a huge demand from schools to take that programme that we were running with the apprentice and graduate cohort and adapt that for a school setting so that it could be delivered within the curriculum, and there would be bonus points if it could be SCQF credit and levelled. So I'm just going to play a little short video that's going to give you an idea of what the Field Change Challenge at SCQF Level 6 looks like when it is run within a school.
Well, as part of the work at Fuel Change that we do, we engage the next generation in what's called the Challenge Programme, where they take on an industry problem, a real-world industry problem, and then work through using critical thinking, communication skills, teamwork, to come up with a presentation at the end where they can share their thoughts with the world.
The idea that you're giving a problem and you actually get to make your solution to it. No one's telling you that's not a good idea, that's ridiculous. You kind of go with the flow with it.
It's been really informative. You know, before I came here, I had no idea about the topic, but now I've learned so much.
Every job in the world's a green job now. Everything's going to have that impact and kind of sustainability, and every company in the world's going to have a thing to do and to say about sustainability.
I think the programme offers our employees the chance to progress skills that they probably previously wouldn't have used.
You know, we're coming up with our own creative solution, our own campaign for young people, and I think that's really important because we are going to be the biggest part of the change.
Guys like myself, just out the apprenticeship, just out the apprenticeship, can really strive on in the skills you learn. Before Fuel Change, it's something I definitely wouldn't have done. Wouldn't have had much interest in being on stage. It's a bit nerve-wracking, out of my comfort zone, change of pace, but I've enjoyed it.
Perfect. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of a flavour as to what the Field Change Challenge is all about. But really it's here, as you can see on this slide. This is the curriculum opportunity that we've got. So the Field Change Challenge is SCQF credit and levelled at level 6, and it's 80 notional learning hours delivered across the full academic year, which translates into about 100 deliverable minutes per week. So some schools have been offering that as 2 single periods, others have been offering it as a double period. That's really the curriculum time that you need to deliver it. And to give you a bit of a flavour as to how some schools have looked at implementing this within their curriculum, some have been offering it as part of their wider achievement opportunity or opportunities for wider learning column for their senior phase students. Others, especially for academic session 23-24, are looking at teaming it up as part of a dual award programme where they might do Field Change for 2 periods per week and partnering that with something like Young STEM Leader Award, Duke of Edinburgh, a Leadership Award, so that at the end of that academic year, in that time slot, they come out with 2 qualifications. And there's a lot of other ways in which you can piece the Field Change Challenge together with other qualifications and offerings so that you can get more credit points for your offering, whatever it is, and however it is you decide to put that into the curriculum. It's 8 credit points, as you can see there. It does also contribute to insight data, which I know is something that's really important and really valuable for schools. The target audience is S5 and S6. Some people often ask me at this point, you know, why S5 and S6? Why not perhaps a younger age group? To be honest, we did pilot this with a group of S3s, and because the programme is so linked to real life organisations, pushing young people to think about what are they doing after school, what skills do they need to develop in order to take them there, that the SDs that were involved just weren't at that point in time. So the programme is definitely more beneficial in our experience when it is run with those older age groups in there. And something that is definitely in the plus column for pretty much everybody that we speak to is there is no cost for this to be implemented within your curriculum. And that's the same for whether you have a class of 6 students or whether you have a class of 36 students. However, there's no limit and no cost depending on how many students you want to put forward for this. For full transparency, the reason that that is the case is we work with private organisations who offer the exact same course, which is non-accredited, but to their apprentices and graduates in the private sector, and that essentially funds what we're able to do in education, because we wanted this to be fully inclusive and accessible to as many people as possible. And we didn't want it to be the type of thing that was only offered to a small cohort of students. We wanted this to be offered to as many people as possibly wanted to get involved. So looking a little bit at the details and delivery, so going into a wee bit more of the nitty-gritty. So essentially the Fuel Change Challenge is all about using teamwork and innovation to develop solutions to those real-world industry problems. And to bust a few myths, some people hear the word fuel and fuel change and think that we only work with oil and gas organisations or looking at alternative fuel sources, looking at hydrogen power, all those sort of things. And I can guarantee that that's very much not the case. We do a lot of work to promote the fact that whether you want to work in finance or be a fashion designer or be a plumber, that a knowledge and understanding of sustainability and the skills needed to actually implement that are going to be absolutely essential for you to thrive in the future world of work, because of some of the top-down changes that we're seeing coming from government that are going to impact business. So essentially having that knowledge of sustainability and having developed those skills, you will be more employable. So we do a lot of work around, looking at sustainable food and drink. As I said, this year we're working with an organisation called Intelligent Growth Solutions, questioning what the future of farming and agriculture is going to look like. We're working with SSE and BAM Nuttall on a question around how do we achieve that energy transition in terms of people and the energy itself. I've already mentioned Visit Scotland, looking at the future of travel and tourism in Scotland. Transportation, this year we're working with that organisation called Fourth Ports on green logistics. How are we going to get people and products from A to B in a greener way? And we're working with ACOM, as I said, on redesigning our towns and cities. What is the future of the high street going to look like? How can we make that more sustainable? But it's not about finding that miracle solution. So do not get me wrong, some of the teams come up with absolutely fantastic ideas. And the teams at St Mungo's that Michelle's got right now, we went to visit them just the other week, and they've really, really thought about this, and it's really amazing some of the creative ideas that they've come up with. But it's not about finding that next big piece of technology or the next thing that's going to solve all the world's problems. For us, it's really about that meta skill development and the development of the skills that you can see on the screen here. So skills like their presentation, their resilience, their problem solving, their critical thinking, skills that we know through our engagement with organisations that this is what employers are looking for. They're not looking for, while there's an element of technical skill that will be required when it comes to that net zero transition, they're really just looking for people who can come into their organisation work ready, that can problem solve, that can critically analyse, that can think on their own and can work in teams. All of these meta skills which have been identified in the Climate Emergency Skills Action Plan by Skills Development Scotland as essential for getting us to that positive transition to net zero. And skills that I think because of COVID and just the way that that's been, that young people and adults, I mean, you know what it's like when you go on a call yourself and you suddenly have to work in real life with people rather than behind a screen. Skills that over this time period that we've maybe not had as much practice in developing. So really offering that opportunity for those young people to develop those skills so that they can talk about it on a UCAS application, a job application, an apprenticeship application, whatever it might be for them going forward. So to give you an idea of what's covered across the programme, so the course runs from August right through to the end of March, and it finishes at the end of March because we know that they go away on Easter holiday and then they're away on study leave and you might never see them again. So the whole programme's designed to wrap up just at the end of March before they go away from there. And it really kicks off in August because a key learning for us this year was that when schools start back in August, that doesn't mean that everything is ready to go on the first day back. There can be a couple of wee weeks in there where transitions are happening, timetables are still changing. So we've provided content in there which can help ease you into that programme before the accredited version all starts. So this gives you an idea of what's covered from that August to March period in time there. Now we call it a sprint, but it's basically just a block of learning. So sprint 1 is where we present them with those 5 national challenges. They come together as a team and they do a bit of team dynamics. Because the project is delivered in teams, they do need to get used to how do you work in a team, what makes a good team, what strengths do you need, how can you pull on the strengths of different individuals in the team, how do you make a good decision. So we do some pieces in there about creating a better and more effective team. They then do some root cause analysis. So while those are the challenges that you get to pick from, what's actually the root cause of that? Because you can't solve these big challenges. You can't solve everything all at once. So dig deeper and find the one problem in there that you want to solve that's part of that wider challenge. When they've got the problem that they want to solve, they then take that into sprint 2, which is all about creating their solution. So we give them some innovation and ideation techniques so they can come up with a bit of an idea. And when they've got that general overview idea, that's when we layer on those sustainability elements. So now that you know you want to do this thing, how would you make that more sustainable? Let's learn a little bit about the sustainability pillars and apply that to your solution. Let's learn about the circular economy and now apply that to your solution. So that whole section there is about learning some things and applying it to what you're actually doing with your own solution there. And then they do some critical analysis, because it's all well and good critiquing other people's ideas, but can you critique your own and can you make it better so that you're more prepared for that final presentation at the end? And sprint 3 is all about getting them ready for exactly that, preparing their final presentation. So we do some work on feedback. How do you give feedback? How do you receive feedback, good and bad? And then they get ready to create that business case. We say a business case there, but we're not looking for a 700-page report that you would see in Dragon's Den or The Apprentice. We're just asking them to think quite thoroughly about what it is that their solution is. Put some numbers against it. It doesn't need to be exact, but just show that you've done a bit of research and that it could be feasible if it was to be implemented. And then, of course, they get that opportunity at the end to present it back to a panel of real-life industry judges. So that gives you a bit of an idea end-to-end on what's covered within the course. Now, the next step is resourcing, because sometimes when I do this presentation, people go, oh, that sounds really great, but does that mean that I now need to develop all the resources to be able to deliver this? And that's absolutely not the case. We wanted to make this programme as off the shelf, out of the box as possible, so that there wasn't stress or anxiety placed on teachers around having to create all these resources for themselves. So every 50-minute deliverable session comes with what you can see on the screen here. So you get your fully filled out lesson plan, which is there and ready to go. You then get a video module, which is basically where one of us from the Fuel Change team takes the classroom through the session for that day. So it'll be one of us saying, hi guys, how are you getting on? Right, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Pause the video here for 15 minutes and take part in this activity. What we found, and we've had feedback on this year, and we're going to make it, even better for next year and make a couple of wee tweaks that are necessary. But what we've really found is that doing it this way allows the teacher to be more of a facilitator of the content that's provided, rather than have that pressure of being the subject matter expert. So, have that pressure of suddenly you're the circular economy expert. And one of the teachers that we've been working with has fed back to say that the way she's positioned it in her head and to the classroom is that, look, I'm on this journey with you. This is Fuel Change's content. We're going to explore it together. And if there's any questions that she can't answer, she just gets in touch with us and we're there to support her through it. You then also get the teacher's note video, which is a bit of a backstage video from us to you to basically say, right, this is what you're going to come up against today. If they get tripped up here, that's no problem. You can try this instead. Make sure you get X, Y, and Z for their logbooks and their assessment. And it just gives you a wee peek behind the wizard's curtain of what's actually going on from a teaching point of view. But then you also get the slide deck without the accompanying video. So if there is a session where you're thinking, actually, I'm more than happy to just go ahead and run with that. Or if there's a cohort in front of you and you think they might not they might not resonate with that particular type of activity, then you're more than welcome to make some tweaks in there if you like. As long as you're sticking to the key outcomes for the assessment, then that's absolutely no problem at all. And what you can see at the bottom there is how the programme is assessed. So they're working towards their final presentation, and we offer those presentation templates so that the guys can build that as they go. Really, the purpose of that is so that by the time it gets to March, they're not thinking, oh my God, what did we do back in September? And that they can build that as they go, and they can make changes to it before their final presentation. But the logbooks is really the key form of assessment there. So every session comes with a short logbook, which will say, you know, where the students are required to fill that out individually. So as much as it's a team project, each individual fills out a logbook by themselves. And the logbooks they're pretty short and sweet. And it's things like, you know, how do you make an effective decision? How did your team make that decision? How did they get on making that decision? And the students are just noting that in there. And there is marking schemes, and we're currently this year building up a bank of best practice example answers so that for future years, teachers are more and more supported in terms of what they're looking at in those logbooks. So there is marking schemes that go alongside this. In terms of the marking, we would encourage that teachers just follow along and mark sort of week by week. But we're on hand to support you with that at any point. And going forward, there are 3 sort of assessment sampling points where we'll be in key contact with you, where we take a sample and we go and check that back and forward. But there's multiple points where we're in direct contact with you as a school to make sure that put your own your own mind at ease, but also to kind of just keep on track. And if there's any point where we're saying, you know what, that student just needs a little bit more, or you're doing really well there, then we're on hand to give you a help with that. The awarding body for the qualification at the moment is at Dumfries and Galloway College. That's working really, really well for us right now. It's not to say in the future that we wouldn't go for perhaps a larger awarding body, perhaps SQA or City and Guilds, but Dumfries and Galloway College is our awarding body right now, and it is awarded on a pass-fail basis. So if we're being honest, it's one of those situations that because there is a sampling point, most students should pass the course unless they're just not there at all, or unless they just don't fill out those workbooks. There's those logbooks. There's multiple points for us to say that person just needs a wee bit more there or a wee bit there. And the key relationship that you've got is with ourselves. So you don't need to worry about being in touch with Dumfries and Galloway College. You just go through us and we deal with all of that at the other end as well. So hopefully that answers some of those questions around delivery and assessment. And the very, very last point I wanted to make before I stop talking, because you're probably all getting very sick of my voice by now, is this point around transformational partnerships. Now, this is something that we've really been working on refining this year so that we can really strengthen this for academic session 23-24. The programme is the programme, and it works really well. It's a brilliant programme if we do say so ourselves. But that real added value is the opportunity for those young people to engage with people that aren't their teacher, their friends, their parents, and to go and talk to people that are really already in the workplace, they're already in industry, and they're already doing things. So we're working on the mechanism whereby we would, through ourselves, you can get in touch with an industry expert, so the teams can talk to somebody who's in that industry, and the students can ask questions about, oh, well, what if I was to do this in the town centre, what would that actually look like, and what advice can you offer? There's then an opportunity for them to get in touch with a sustainability expert. So when you're learning things about circular economy, go and speak to somebody that's already doing circular economy in their own business. We're then looking at getting them mentors that can help them take that idea from good to great. And then, of course, there's that opportunity for them to engage with those external panel of industry judges at the end of the process. So this is all done through our own network, and you liaise directly with us, and that will be fully in place for next year. And it's really just one of those opportunities to say, well, if you need to set up with a Zoom call with that person, when are you going to do it? Are you going to do it after school? Are you going to do it in your lunchtime? And really just encouraging them and pushing them to think outside of that traditional education sort of system there, and to think a little bit more about what work is actually like. So the very last point I wanted to make was just that I would like to introduce Michelle McMullan, who, as I said, is from St Mungo's High School, and Michelle's going to share with us her experience of delivering the programme this year with a cohort of students that she's got right now, which I'm glad to introduce you, Michelle, because I do like to say that is my word vomit, that full entire presentation. It's a lot of information to take in. So yeah, I'll pass over to Michelle, and that is me.
Excellent. I will just be 2 seconds. I'm just going to load up my presentation as well. So I hope everybody can hear me. But Anna's already went through quite a lot of the logistics of the programme and how the programme works and, you know, what it's worth and all of that kind of thing. So really, this was just in order for me to be able to look at the logistics of how we have run it within school in this year. So currently I am, or generally I am faculty head of social subjects within St Mungo's High School in Falkirk. But over the course of this year, I have been acting deputy as well, and I'll come back to that just in a little second. But in terms of how did we become involved in field change, it was a completely chance meeting that we had a couple of years ago, where I had been meeting with our local MP during the summer holidays. He was catching up with me about something and said to me, I'm going to wait to this meeting, why don't you come along to it? Because he knew a lot of the work that I had been doing within St Mungo's and thought that the meeting would be beneficial, and therefore the start of the relationship between field change and St Mungo's started then. So why did we get involved? My journey is that I had completed the professional recognition in global citizenship round about session 18 to 19, and I had already started making changes. I had recognised that learning more about sustainability was something that our young people wanted. They were hearing about it in the news all of the time, but within social subjects, we didn't have enough that we were doing in order to meet the demands that our young people had. So I had already made some changes within our junior school courses. So for example, we started to do things such as we introduced a unit which was called water scarcity and the true cost of fashion. So tying in lots of different things, but I was very much aware that our younger pupils had it, but our senior pupils who had gone through social subjects in the junior school before we'd made these changes hadn't actually gone through there. So I went along to the meeting with Anna, and a lot of the things that Anna was talking to me about were absolutely things that I thought that's what we're trying to do within St Mungo's, and it would just be absolutely brilliant for us to be able to work together in partnership. And we've been working together ever since. So in terms of the benefits that being involved in the programme can bring, for us, one of the key benefits was the accessibility of the programme, because it is massively accessible. So we have a significant number of young people within St Mungo's who like to spend time within social subjects. So they quite often are doing 2 or 3 separate social subject areas, but they also found perhaps the higher courses that we offered to be very, very tricky and challenging. So I had already, at the stage that I met with Anna, been starting to look at various different opportunities that we could have to meet the needs of our young people within school. So starting to look at things such as MPAs that were on offer, and therefore when I heard about the Field Change Challenge programme, it absolutely fitted in with what we wanted. Donnie at the start of the presentation was looking at the SCQF framework and the benefits that that has, and certainly for the Field Change programme, that was where we thought it was going to be able to be massively beneficial. It was bringing about wider achievement that our younger people were going to be able to benefit from, but also I had a role at the time where I was the DYW coordinator within the school as well. So I recognised that a lot of the things we were trying to do along with DYW as well were also tying in with things for learning for sustainability, and Field Change just managed to offer something that hit every single one of the points that I had been searching for something for. As I've said, it was something particularly around about the time of COP26. We had a lot of our young people speaking about it, and in fact we actually went along to a session, again through Field Change, but we went along to a session and I took some of our 6th year pupils, and it was a question and answer session looking at industry experts and looking at various different people who were talking about the climate crisis. And one of our 6th year pupils actually said, you know, well, we're hearing about all of this, why are we not learning anything at all about it in school? We're the generation that can make a change. So that really got me thinking as well as to, we need to be doing something more about this. So another reason that we got involved was because when I'd spoken to Anna, I was looking at all the other benefits that could come about as a result of it. And certainly a lot of the wee clips that Anna had there showed some of our young people at things like the Field Change Live event. So it was just offering them opportunities outside of school as well. It was allowing them to explore the interests that they had, but doing it through school at the same time. and been able to make some changes and to learn about things that they then were able to talk to the younger pupils about as well. So even although we've concentrated on the senior school this year, the junior school pupils were benefiting from the knowledge that they had as well. I've said there as well that support from SLT within the school is absolutely crucial. And I was in a lucky position whereby I was established within my school. I had introduced various different things before, and the SLT within the school had confidence that when I came to them with a proposal, I'd thought about it very, very carefully and clearly. I knew how I was going to run with it. So they were more than happy for me to be able to run the challenge programme over the course of this session. And the way that we did it is that our first lot of recruits were brought on board really quite late. They had already made their course choices, and we hadn't offered it as part of our offering in the course choice forms over the course of last year. So what we did instead was, in June, when our young people came back from study leave, I went along to the S6 conference that we hold, and I spoke to them about this new programme that we had offered them, explained to them what it was. And I had been involved with Field Change over the course of last year, looking at what the programme was going to look like and various different ways of being able to teach certain aspects of the course. So I showed them the kind of promotional video that Field Change had, and I just asked for anybody that would like to volunteer to take part in the programme. And I think that was key, because it was something that the pupils had to opt into. They had to say that they wanted to do this, rather than it being just something else that they were being forced to do. So I had a group of 9 sixth-year pupils. I actually started with 8, and then somebody heard a little bit about it, and then he came and says, "Can I join the Field Change programme?" And we actually took them out of their core classes. So I've had them over the 2 periods per week, and I have taught them over the course of the entire year. But it has meant that I was taking them out of one of their core periods of PE and one of their core periods of RE, and we're changing that for this year. So I'll come back to that just in a little second. But certainly in terms of what our young people think, the skills development that they have had through the course of this programme has been absolutely brilliant. And even from my own personal aspect, I was at a session for my own daughter's school probably a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the skills that were going to be required within the workplace by 2030, and every single skill that they spoke about was something that we have been developing through Field Change. So for me, it just gave me affirmation that we've done the right thing by becoming involved in this programme right at the start. So in terms of, I'm just moving that on, sorry, 2 wee seconds. In terms of what our experience has been this year, I've put there about guidance and support, and Anna spoke to you about that. And you know, as teachers, quite often we hear from companies and we think, yeah, that's not actually how it happens. But I would like to say that with Field Change, what Anna has said will be the case, is absolutely the case, and that has been our experience this year. They have been absolutely fantastic in terms of the support that they've provided. They're always at the end of the phone or an email. They get back to you really, really quickly. And for us, that's been a massive help, because you are running this for the first time. You know, I've said to my young people at times that they're kind of like guinea pigs. And as Anna said, I have said to them, I'm learning this at the same time as you are. And I've been reflecting over the course of the year. I'm looking at changes that I will make over the course of next year. But Field Change have always been here. As Anna said, they've been in a few times. They've been looking at the work that the young people have been doing. And the industry mentor that we have had has been absolutely brilliant. So we had Joseph, who works for ACOM, and he has been fantastic with the young people this year. And as Anna said, it just gives the young people somebody else. You know, like I'm standing talking about sustainable town centres and stuff like that, but he actually has a far better idea. He's been through the programme himself. And for our young people, it was kind of like he was their big brother. He was guiding them through the programme, and it was absolutely brilliant for them. And they've really enjoyed that. And when you're speaking to them about their experience of it, a lot of them are saying that they really enjoyed having Joseph in it and just getting that idea of having someone that's went through the programme, that is working within the industry, you know, saying how beneficial it is. In terms of other things from my perspective, for me at the start of the year, it turned out to be a complete disaster. And I was on kind of emailing Anna, but it was nothing at all to do with what Field Change had done. So Anna just explained there about the way in which the lesson is, the course is structured, the lessons are all provided, and they absolutely are. but we had an upgrade to our tech system over the course of the summer. So I was having like videos loaded up, they were working, and I would go into a classroom and there was absolutely nothing working. As Anna said as well, the first couple of weeks back at school, you've got people kind of in and out and changes being made to courses and things like that. So through no fault of Fuel Change and through no fault of myself, we felt that we were running a little bit behind, even just a couple of weeks into the course. But again, I was speaking to Anna, she was very, very reassuring, suggesting ways in which we would be able to catch up on some time. So for me, it has been a very, very positive experience. I've liked the fact as well that I don't feel like I'm there as their teacher, like I'm more there as a facilitator. I'm allowing our young people to be able to do what they want to be able to do, fitting in with what the programme is. Another thing that I've had is that the attendance at times has had an impact. So as Anna said, you know, they do have to fill in the logbooks. It is not an onerous task, but there were times where I was thinking, I had a different group of 9 pupils sitting in front. Look, I never had all 9 of them there. So at the moment, we're trying to get caught up and make sure that they do have their logbooks finished off. And again, the way that I'm going to deliver it this year has been influenced by that. We've also obviously had in-service days and strike days and stuff. So you have your time allocated to you based on the timetable that you run within the school. But Fuel Change don't know whether that's going to be a holiday, and that's the period that is getting hit all of the time. So I've had to make some changes over the course of the year, but the course has been adaptable, that it's allowed me to do that. So that has been really good. In terms of the views of our young people, they have been very, very positive about it. We were laughing a few weeks ago when Anna was in because one of the girls went, "Oh, it's stressful." And I said, it's okay for you to say that. It's absolutely okay for you to say that, because we can take then your experience this year and look at it from next year. But I think in her head, she thought that the challenge and the solution that they come up with, she thought they would have to go out and do this. She thought they were going to be out developing Falkirk Town Centre, which is not the case. They're just coming up with a plan for it. But certainly, completely unprompted, the number of the young people that have went through the programme this year that have spoken about this as it's their favourite memory. They're filling in their yearbook memories at the moment. So some of them have filled in that it's their favourite memory of being at high school. A lot of them were speaking about it within their UCAS applications, or they're asking us, you know, for references for jobs and things, and they're all mentioning Fuel Change. And as I've said, none of that has been because I've said, remember and go and do that. But I'm not going to tell you too much more about the views of our young people, because they did their own little video. So I'm going to show you this video. The sound isn't brilliant, but you can hear them. So I'm going to let our young people from this year explain their experience of Fuel Change. Okay, so as I said, that was the views of our young people, and yeah, they did say at times, you know, we found parts of it hard to work through, but certainly I think for them, this idea of finding themselves a little bit, being able to identify their skills, and we have a skills framework within the school whereby we're trying to make sure that they're able to talk about their skills an awful lot more, but we still felt by the time they came to the senior school, you would say, but how do you know that you're good at that skill? And they couldn't actually tell you. So some of the lessons that we've had them doing, such as the Myers-Briggs personality test, was absolutely brilliant, because they used that as a way of trying to do a bit of soul searching. What type of a person were they, and how could they then contribute to the overall group working, and how could they offer a role that somebody else that learned in a different way was going to be able to put forward their ideas. So they've really benefited a lot from that, and I've heard them talking about then taking what they've done within field change and using it within other subject areas as well. So that was, they were not given a script, they came up with all of that kind of stuff themselves just last week. I said to them, it'd be really good if you gave us your ideas and opinions about it. So in terms of moving forward, the subject is going to be offered a little bit differently over the course of this year. So we did actually have it on our course choice form this year. We have advertised it to parents. It was in our course choice booklet, so there's information about it with links to the Field Change website and the various different promotional videos that they have. And I think that our recruits this year, having gone through the course choice process, will be a little bit different. So our kids this year, they opted into it. It was something whereby a lot of those kids that you've just saw there are maybe going on to do law, or they're going on to do medicine, international relations. Whereas this year, I think that we're going to have a lot of the pupils who want to be in social subjects, but this is something that they can be offered that's a little bit different for them, because they do find the higher courses just a little bit too hard. So we are going to be teaching it over 5 or 6 periods next year, but we're going to do it with an additional qualification. As Anna said, some of the other schools are doing that this year, along with Duke of Edinburgh and things like that. We've not decided what it's going to be yet, so there's the SK course on climate change that we were considering, but that is what we're planning on doing. And we feel that for us, it would allow us to take separate bits of the course and look at them a little bit more in depth. So that's certainly what our plans are for next year. Other things that we're going to do a little bit differently would be even looking at the staffing who deliver it. And that is another benefit of the programme, is that it offers flexibility with staffing. It does not have to be someone in social subjects or science who is delivering this. It has to be a member of staff that has passion and that they want to be able to help teach the next generation about issues even out with their own subject areas. So certainly I run bits of the programme this year, but then because I was doing an acting deputy position, I wasn't teaching all of it. But certainly having other staff that can then come in, and I've had staff come to me this year and saying, what is that? And, can I get involved in it for next year? So I want to change how we're running it. Even things such as this year, our groups, one group was doing the 4th Porch Challenge, one group was doing the ACOM Challenge, which was the Sustainable Town Centres. I would like to be able to take them to the town centre, right, look at this area, what would you do with this area? And in the 2 periods a week this year, we've not been able to do that. But certainly we're really looking forward to the way in which the challenge programme is going to develop within our school, and just learning a little bit more every year, looking at how we can make our changes, because we feel that it really does have so much potential that it can offer to our young people. But I am always available if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, or feel free to get in touch with me. But we really do think that for our young people, it has been a massively beneficial programme, and we're looking forward to seeing how it will develop over the course of the next few years. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Wow, that's a brilliant story. Thanks, Anna, as well. So much information, so much content there. What I'll do is I will just stop recording, and we could maybe use the rest of